and they're out there turning over police cars. Well, maybe we could do that in Cuba too. It's kind of the double-edged sword of having those protests. If, for example, if maybe you're a leftist or a Marxist movement, they see these protests and they say, we can do that here in Cuba to throw off communism. And so it's interesting that even BLM officially has come out on the side of the Cuban regime. Because we have enough. So suddenly there's a protest on the island, which is, by the way, a black civil rights movement is how this started. It was hip hop artists who wanted to be free to express themselves and say what they want about the regime in the form of their artwork. And the majority, by the way, like 95% of current political prisoners in Cuba are black, and the government is white. And I mean, I'm not, promoting this whole idea, racial identity is necessarily what causes this abusive situation. But the fact remains that this is a black civil rights movement that started, and it's such a beautiful story because it's spread to the rest of the population regardless of ethnic group or race. So Chinese Cubans are in the streets here in New York protesting with us. Black Cubans, white Cubans, just, the Jewish Cubans and Jehovah's Witness Cubans, and just everybody is out together being a part of this. And it's such a beautiful story about how all the races came together to say enough is enough of this abuse. And it was inspired because hip hop artists in Cuba, the San Isidro movement and poets and other forms of art, they said, we're going to express ourselves against the regime, and we've got the guts to do this. And they were inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement here in the United States. They said, if those people can protest, the police state in the United States, which we know is way better funded and stronger than the Cuban one, and they're out there turning over police cars, well, maybe we could do that in Cuba too. It's kind of the double-edged sword of having those protests. If, for example, if maybe you're a leftist or a Marxist movement, they see these protests and they say, we can do that here in Cuba to throw off communism. And so it's interesting that even BLM officially has come out on the side of the Cuban regime, because this is a black civil rights struggle is how it started. And it's actually a very beautiful, it's tragic, but it's actually a very beautiful story of the way the Cuban people around the world are coming together in one voice. No, I'm not surprised. It's just,
if anybody, real quick for benefit of our audience, if anybody is asking why BLM is supporting the regime, the actual founders of the Capital Letters organization, the original, those folks are, in their own words, trained Marxists. So they drank the Kool-Aid.
I'm not surprised. I just think that it's noteworthy. The fact that an organization that claims to exist for the advancement of the rights of black people and for protection of black people, in particular against police abuses, would stand up against what started as a black civil rights movement against police abuse. And it's even a worse example because it's not even, some people make it's one bad apple or a few bad apples argument. There's police that target us and there's racial profiling in a few departments. That's not even this. This is an entire government of an entire country completely turned against the black people.